Hello everybody, it's CraftyRia and welcome to another video. If you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you found me, and if you're returning, welcome back. Today we will be working on card sketch number 18, and I'm going to do a regular card and a recycled Christmas card. This card sketch was inspired by one of the ladies in my Create with CraftyRia Facebook group. She said she had a really hard time measuring it out and cutting all the little pieces, so I decided to go ahead and challenge myself and do a card sketch with it. I kind of just eyeballed her card. I didn't have the measurements, and I made kind of my own measurements, so I don't know if it really matches up perfectly, but it's pretty darn close. So this is on a regular card base. It is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I have 3 pieces, 3 rectangles and a circle. So let's go ahead and get started. I will zoom you out. There we go. And I'm going to do the regular card first because that one is going to be easier. The Christmas card is going to be a little bit harder to work with the image. So let's get the easy one done first. I had these beautiful papers in my stash. I received them as a swap or a tag on the Facebook group Creativity Swaps Happy Mail and Friendship. That's linked below. And I decided these 3 went really well together. She used 3 really brightly colored papers, so I thought I would do the same thing. And I found some paper to mat it on. I thought this blue would be a good basic mat, and then I'm going to use the yellow as an accent for the circle. I also had to find a sentiment to go in that circle there, and I have these circle sentiments. I have had these for a long time. They're autumn leaves, clear stamps. You know, I may have gotten these from Tuesday Morning, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't know. But I think I'm going to use the You Really Shine because these are very brightly colored papers, and I thought that would be really good. I'm going to use a white card base, so I'm not conflicting too many different colors because it's going to be very bright as it is. And I'm going to stamp the image or the sentiment with my VersaFine, and that takes a little while to dry, so I'm going to stamp it first and let it sit while we're putting the rest of the card together, and then I'll come back to it. So I'm going to stamp it on this yellow, and then I'm going to put the blue behind it. I have my stamps, my punches. I have my circle punch and my 2-inch scallop circle punch. I also bought some new stamping blocks because I had a whole bunch and I can only find the really big one. And I like to use one that is more of the size of the stamp when I stamp. I think you get a better image that way. These were from Amazon, and you get this whole big set. You get all of these pieces in the set, and they come with this backing on it, and you just take it off. It's got this protective cover, and you just peel that protective cover off, and then that leaves you with the nice clear acrylic stamping block. I wanted to show you that. I took the cover off all the rest of them. I think this is going to be the perfect size for it, so I will use that one. I'll put the rest of these back in the bag they came in. If I remember, I will link this below. It was very reasonable, and I like it because you get all kinds of sizes. I'll try not to lose them. I think I'll keep them all together in that bag. And I'm going to use the one that says you really shine. And I have hardly used these. And so they usually really stick on the backing really good when you go to first take them off. All right. And I'm just going to set that right on there. And I will start just by stamping that right on the paper, and I'll set it aside. I'm not going to touch it and let it completely dry. This is kind of like a hybrid ink, and it takes a few minutes to dry. But it gives you a beautiful image. There you go. And I'm going to stamp one more just in case I don't like the way that one looks. Just making sure I'm getting the best, my favorite one. And these are kind of a distressed look anyway. They're not a solid look. I think I like the second one better. It had a little more ink on it. And it kind of gives you a distressed background. They're not meant to be solid. So I'm going to set this aside. I'll clean it after I am done. And I'm going to set this aside as well. Bring my sketch back out. I have my card base. I'm going to make sure I don't have any ink on my fingers. I have my card base, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I have my mats and my paper, and I think I'm going to lay it. This one's going to be the back, the one furthest to the back. This one will be the middle, and this one is going to be on top. And I wrote down the measurements that I used. This back mat is going to be 4 3/4 by 2 1/2. This is 6 by 6 paper, so I'm going to start with the 2 1/2 edge. And then cut it at 4 3/4. That's the first mat. And then the second mat is going to be 4 by 2. Let's see, how wide is this one? That's not quite 4. So I will cut this one here at 2. And then I will cut it at 4. And then the third one is 3 1/2 by 1 3/4. I'll do the 1 3/4 edge carefully. By 3 1/2. So that's that little piece. Okay, so now I want to cut my papers, and I want just a small border. I don't want much of a border on them. I'm going to cut them just a little bit smaller than this. Now we can do the math and we can measure, but I'm going to show you a really easy way to measure. I'm going to get my pencil. I'm going to flip the paper over because it really doesn't matter which edge we use. Although this edge is a little rough. I'll use this edge. It's a little rough. I'm just going to trim just a little piece off of that edge, just so I have a smooth edge. It was a little bit creased on the edge. I'm going to turn this paper over, and I'm just going to mark. I want about that much of a border showing. It might be hard to see on this mat. I want just that little bit of an edge. So I'm going to take my paper and line it up. And I'm going to make a mark where I want to cut it on this side. And I'm going to make a mark where I want to cut it there. I'm going to start by cutting this long piece. I'm just lining my little mark up with the edge of my blade. And then I'm going to cut it in this direction. And then I have that piece that lines up pretty good. Now that I'm going to eyeball it again, I'm going to take a sliver off of this edge because I didn't measure it very good. I like it to be even on all 4 edges, and that looks really good. Okay, I'll put this back in my paper stash. And then for the second one, I'm going to do the same thing. Now I'm going to trim off this edge of the paper because it has another little crease from, I think, from going through the mail. And this paper doesn't matter which way it goes because it's just circles. So I'm going to line it up on here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to mark, and I'm just going to mark. Now you can do this whether you're making your pieces larger or smaller. Doesn't matter. Make sure I have my paper in here in the right direction. Then you've got that one lined up. And then the last piece. This edge seems to be pretty good. And I'm just going to line it up. I'll save the rest of those for another project. That I have that piece. Okay. I'm just going to adhere these to the base with my handy dandy tape runner, which was all the way across my desk. This paper is pretty thin, so I don't want to use glue on it. And it's time for the dog and the bird to have their little craziness. That's Crichton is the bird and Jonah is the dog, and they're both a little crazy. The bird makes this noise that drives the dog crazy, and he knows it. I think he does it on purpose. And then the dog runs over to him and barks like a crazy, like the crazy dog he is. My husband and I went for a drive earlier today, and when we came home, Jonah was waiting for us at the door, and I'm like, "Oh, Jonah." And Crichton said exactly in my voice, "Oh, Jonah." He hardly ever says Jonah's name. He's only said it maybe once or twice. So I thought that was really kind of cool that he said Jonah's name. I hope he starts saying it more often. Okay, so we have these pieces here. I think I'm going to put it this way. I'm trying to line it up with the way the card sketch is. Then we have this piece that kind of goes like that. And this piece, I'm going to do it this way, kind of like that. And then we need to cut out our circle. So I'm going to take my circle punch and line it up upside down like that and line it up as best I can. I'm going to turn it toward me so I can see it. And then just punch. And then I'm going to use my 2-inch scallop punch and punch out a scallop on this blue. And then this is going to go here. I think that's kind of cute. Okay, so let's adhere it all down to the card base. Then this piece goes kind of that way. And this piece. Kind of like that. And I will adhere this down. I could have probably used glue for that because it's smaller. It's thicker. And I just want to line it up on that scallop as best I can. And I'm going to use a little piece of this foam tape on the back, and I'm just going to pop this up a little bit. There we go. So that card is done. I think it's really pretty and bright. It's great for the end of the summer. Now let's move on to the hard one. The recycled Christmas card. I went through my Christmas cards probably 15 times trying to figure out which card to use. And I decided I would use this one. I can't think of any other way to use this card. I've been thinking about this design for the longest time, and it's a real hard one for me. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. I picked some glitter paper for it, and I thought I would use these glitter papers, and I'm not going to mat these because I'm going to use this piece as the back, you know, the one in the back, this piece as the sideways one, and then this for this top one. This I'm going to use for the flower or the circle. I'm not sure how it's going to look, but we'll see how it looks when it's all done. So this biggest rectangle is 4 3/4 by 2.5. So I'm going to cut the 2.5 side off of this cardstock. So there's my background piece. The second piece is 4 by 2. So I'm going to cut it at 2. And then turn it and cut it at 4. And then the last one is 3.5 by 1 3/4. So this is the one I'm going to have to be careful about. Let me cut the top of the card off, the front of the card off. Now, I want to use this piece like this. I think I want to save the word Merry Christmas, so I'm going to use my scissors and just kind of cut that piece out. I'm going to save that for a different card. And I will trim that up later. So I do want to trim this in a rectangle like this, so I just have to decide which side I'm going to use as my straight edge there. And I might just kind of eyeball it and cut it like that. Oh, before I do that, because it's going to ruin this, I want to take my round piece. I want to cut my circle out of here somewhere. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. And now I will take this and kind of just line it up. It doesn't matter really where I line it up as far as being straight, because I'm just establishing my first straight edge. And once the first straight edge is established, I can establish the other 3. So there's my first straight edge. There's my second straight edge, and then I can do my third. So it needs to be 1 3/4 inches wide. And if I measure it here, I want to see how much of this side I have to cut off. I can actually make it a little bit wider. We're going to go against the sketch a little bit. And I'm going to cut it there. And then it needs to be 3.5 long. I'm going to cut it at 3.5, even though it's not an even image, because I'm missing that piece down there. That's okay. I want to line it up and see if this is going to cover that edge. And I'm going to use this glossy blue to cut my scallop out of, my scallop circle. Okay, and for my card base, if I can find it, I have this creamy colored cardstock. I didn't want to use white since this wasn't really white. So according to the sketch, we're going to have this piece in the back. And then this piece, and then this piece, and then this. Yep, that will cover up that bottom piece, so that's going to be perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and adhere everything down. Alrighty. This paper's curled a little. I'm just trying to straighten it out. I'm going to put a lot of tape on the back of this because it's a heavier paper and it's harder to get it to stick on the glitter paper. Put it like that. And then this piece will go like that. And then we have this piece which will go there. So for this piece, I'm going to use my glue. I have my art glitter glue handy. Again, my Elmer's glue was a little out of reach. I was moving some things around on my desk. The reason I'm using glue is because it's going right onto the glitter paper. And I think glue tends to hold it down a little better than tape. And just like we did for the other card, I'm going to put some three-dimensional foam tape on the back of this, just to pop it up a little bit. There we go. So we have that card all done. It's very glittery. I think it came out kind of cute. I like it better than the original card. And I think what I'm going to do is just use this for the inside. So let me go ahead and trim that up. Now, my straight edge was this side here, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and use that edge and cut all the other three edges around it. Once you have one edge that is square, you can square up all three sides. And I'm going to use a scrap of this. Yep, that'll be perfect. And I will mat it on that. I didn't have it lined up pretty good. I'm going to move it over a little bit because I want to cut that corner off. Well, maybe not. I'm not even sure that this is super straight. I'm not sure I like, it's very crooked. I'm going to use my scissors. I'm going to try it. Yep, there we go. And I will put that on the inside. If I cut it crooked along with how it was already crooked, I think it looks okay. Don't tell anybody. We don't want anybody to know. There we go. So there we have it. We have the recycled Christmas card and the brightly colored card for sketch number 18. I hope you enjoyed this sketch. I hope you found the measuring tips and tricks to be helpful. I can't wait to see your take on this sketch. Please head on over to my Facebook group, Create with CraftyRia. I post the sketch in an album, and everybody usually, if they decide to use the sketch, they add their photos in there as well. You're free to use the sketch on your social media. Just please link to this video or to my channel if you do so. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. I appreciate all of you. If you have not yet subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. Let me know which card was your favorite. Thanks again for watching. And until the next time, you know what to do. Go get crafting. Bye-bye.